Hey, one more thing before you go. Have you ever wondered how to tap into your inner greatness and master your intuition? How intuitive energy, healing, and a psychic medium can help you overcome struggles, fears, and anxieties. In this episode, we're going to answer these questions and more because we're honored to welcome the internationally recognized Terrie Christine. Terrie is an intuitive energy healer, a psychic medium, a TV personality, and the author of The Secret Power of You, a guide to mastering your inner greatness. I'm your host, Michael Herst. Welcome to One More Thing Before You Go. Terrie Christine has been featured on Bravo's hit TV show The Real Housewives of the Potomac, the OWN Network's Love and Marriage, DC, Hay House Radio, Beyond the Ordinary, Straight Talk for the Soul, Quantum Conversations, and several times on Good Morning Washington. This is just a glimpse of the many platforms where you can find her sharing her transformative insights, her gifts, her wisdom, and everything associated. In this conversation, we're going to explore how mastering your inner greatness, how to access your intuition and envision the struggles, fears, and anxieties you are currently going through can be worked through. What is intuitive energy healing, and the power techniques that Terrie uses to help people tap into their intuition and elevate their lives, which is what we all want. And we're going to learn Terrie's unique journey to becoming who she is today. Welcome to the show, Terrie.
Hi, Michael. Thank you. This is an honor, and I'm very grateful.
I'm honored to have you on. I mean, what an amazing journey that you've had in life. I think that coming from everything that you've experienced and what you've done
Mm,
and what you share with people brings an inspiration and a motivation and
mm,
kind of a light of hope. And I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Once I started on my spiritual journey, I realized my purpose was to lift, meaning that, I struggled emotionally at the end of a 14-year relationship. And that was so deep and so profound, meaning that I was at the rock bottom. There wasn't drugs
Uh,
involved or any physical altercation. It was because I couldn't get the love from my partner, the father of my children, that was in a healthy manner. And I thought, if this is what life really is, I don't want it. I
I
don't
don't
want
blame
it.
you. You know, I
Yep.
think we all have to find purpose in life. I said we always seek that from the time we were young to find our purpose. Sometimes we reinvent our purpose, and I think you've had the
Mm,
opportunity to reinvent your purpose in a way that makes others learn theirs.
that's right. It was a total pivot. I was a director of sales for a couple of corporations, making the millions of dollars. And then when that happened, it was at the end. It was, I was laying in the bed. It was 3 a.m. I call that the magical time between 3 and 4 a.m. I know because I looked over at the clock and I had been crying every night for a year. I am not exaggerating. It got to the point, and this is when I share this, I do get a little choked up every single time I say it. But because it was so profound, when I was laying on that bed crying, my young daughter, who was about 10 at the time, came over and started rubbing my leg and saying, "Mommy, please don't cry anymore. Please don't cry." And just to think about it and know that that moment where she was trying to console me and calm me down, that there was nothing that was like, I'm done. And so when I woke up at 3 a.m., I climbed out of the bed and I laid on the bathroom floor and people can call it praying. I was begging God to take me out of my body, that I was done, I was complete. My kids would be fine, and I was pretty much done. And within that time frame, my eyes were closed. I was laying on the floor. I could feel the coldness against my skin. And then there was a sense of expansion. I could feel this dampness around me. I could even taste it in my mouth. With my eyes closed, I could see stars so close I thought I could touch them. And then three simple words: love will come. It was as if I was standing in the center of a speaker. It was all around me, very masculine. And when you're at rock bottom, anything. And that moment was that perfect rope down the little hole so I could climb up. And I stood up and I shook myself as if I was a dog fresh out of the water. And I ran back to the bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my God, I'm going to get everything that I've been squeezing from out of him. And the next day, my life had changed. Went to the bookstore. I bought books from authors who many may know, maybe even you, Wayne Dyer, Esther Hicks, Eckhart Tolle. I had never heard of them. That was not a part of my life. I was corporate, taking care of kids in the house and cooking and cleaning and doing all that kind of stuff. And I didn't know what yoga was really. I wasn't in that world at all. So I got all these books and I was speed reading, and I was not a speed reader. Taking care of the kids in the house and having a full-time job, I was lucky I was able to get through half a book a year. But what was happening, I was looking through two at a time as if I was like moving the pages and everything was making sense and I wanted more and I was almost like in this frenzy of hurry up and get what I was needing. And I got the strength to leave him and then everything started changing and all of these things that people say, oh my God, really? That people were starting to approach me in stores. I'd stand there and they'd say, let me tell you about my life. And they didn't even know me. They would start telling me these horrendous stories. And I realized that I may feel like I'm down and out, but I'm not that bad compared to the stories that people were just coming up randomly at these places that I was. And it helped lift me to understand that I could help these individuals that are needing me, and I thought I needed them. And I started moving into, I call Reiki, it's the platform moving into energy work. I call that the lily pad. So I stepped on that lily pad and learned that. And once I started practicing that, I realized that I could harness this energy. I could shift it and move it to where I wanted it to go. And people were jumping off the table going, oh my God, I could feel that. What are you doing? This is amazing. And then I just started over all of these years. I took a course through intuitive development over many, many years. I just started shifting and changing and sort of creating things on my own and getting downloads, as some may understand what that means, being able to hear things that were helping guiding me. And then I started manifesting. I call myself a master manifester. That was when I was hit by a car at the age of 8, but I started manifesting after that, and then supersizing manifestation as I went into my spiritual journey. And then I wrote my book, The Secret Power of You. And then I manifested being on the shows that I'm on. And then here I am today, 19 years later.
You know that it's an amazing opportunity when you realize that you can find different purpose in life, as we said a few minutes ago. But I'm sorry that you had to experience that 14 years of life experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
From that perspective, it's our journey in this world. Obviously, we all go through this journey, so we do it at different areas. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family myself. That's what inspired me to be a police officer. That's the reason. And I wanted to be a cop, was to kind of see if I can help other individuals. I think you finally realized that was my purpose at that time, but I think that you realize that you have a higher purpose in regard to what you need to bring to the world, and there it is. I know you mentioned a minute ago that you were hit by a car at 8.
Mhm.
So obviously, prior to your ordeal that you went through with 14 years, then getting out of that and opening your soul, your eyes, your heart, anything profound happen to you when you get hit by the car at 8?
So thank you for asking that. The experience of being hit by the car actually came many, many years later, about 7 years ago. So let me start back with, I was walking across the street, hit by a car. My sister said the car technically ran over me, but it hit me and I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't see it coming. And I fell flat on my face and broke the condyles in my jaw. So the ball that helps open and close your jaw, both of them broke, lacerated my liver, bruised my spleen, dislocated my left arm, and then broke the jaw. And then when I ended up in the hospital, I was in a coma. I was in there for about a month. They wired my jaw shut, but then it froze. And so between the age of 8 and 14, I could not even eat with a spoon because the curvature of a spoon would not fit in my mouth. So everything I had to eat with a straw up till the age of 14. Then I had surgery where they put these plastic pieces drilled into my jawbone to lift the condyles so that I could at least open and close. And so when I went through that process, what I did see was I started manifesting things. My parents were teenagers when they had three children. We were not triplets. By the time my mom was 18, all three of us were born into this world. And so there was a lot of lack. We ate a lot of pancakes for dinner. Electricity was cut off a lot. My dad was a long haul truck driver, so I hardly saw him. So it was almost like living with a single mom. So there was a lot of things I had to overcome when, so much lack involved. And then in my 30s, I was resisting and resisting, working two full-time jobs to when I found my partner in my 40s. And then, then it was satisfying his needs, taking care of him, because that's what my mother showed me. The limiting beliefs within our four walls: service your partner, take care of him, don't worry about yourself, take care of him. I literally did that up until my 40s. And then when I met and became involved with the father of my children. And so now developing my intuition and shifting all of that helped me transform, like I said, where I am today. But when I had that spiritual epiphany and being able to see things, what I did was I was able to see see things more profoundly by stepping back and looking at how he was responding, how I was responding, how my children were responding, and gaining the strength and then the knowledge as I moved into intuitive development, playing with that. And then being able to shift myself first, meaning love myself first, know that no is a full sentence, feeling that I can share my feelings verbally and know that I don't have to own what others say and do to make me feel like that feeling owns me. Does that make sense when that feeling owns you?
Absolutely. I think that especially if when we come from an environment like you had come from, I came from similar environments in certain respectives, it is easy to understand how we allow that and those experiences to own us because we think it defines us and how we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be and how we're supposed to act and how we're supposed to, do things in a particular way or fall in line. See my Italian hands moving everywhere. They will just pretend everybody can see all that.
Yes, my hands move too a lot.
So I see that I think that I know once we become aware of a different aspect of reality around us, it gives us a broader perspective of how we define ourselves and how we define ourselves within society and culture as well. So do you think your experience may have expanded, let's say, your awareness? It's like my job did for me, expand your awareness about death and how close those that we've lost or passed
Yeah,
on the other side, how
yeah,
close they are, kind of a thing. Do you
yeah.
think those kind of experiences have had led you into this?
Yes, yeah, most definitely. So going back to that shift of when I died, I I ended up 6 years ago working with a sound healer, and I
With what?
had
I'm
gone
sorry.
to him, a
A
sound
sound healer.
healer, sound healer, so sorry. Yes, a sound healer. And he was using the tuning fork, and then he laid it on my hips. And I remember asking him, "Why are you laying it on my hip?" It was on my right side. And he said, "This is the direct connection to your heart." I said, "Oh, how interesting." And on the
Wow.
fifth session, I remember I was laying on that bed and I said, "I'm going to tell you something that's very strange, but I don't want you to worry." I said, "I feel like I'm going to throw up blood." You should have seen his eyes. They got really big. He was, "What?" I said, "I just feel that." And then I started feeling like that expansion that like I did when I was leaving my body and I had the spiritual epiphany. And then I lost space and time with him in that room. The next thing I knew, I was standing in darkness. I could see two beings. To the left, I have seen Archangel Michael before. He's around me at all times. He's about 12 feet tall and, well, no, excuse me, 9 feet tall, 12-foot wing expansion.
Wow.
He's really large and the wings are magnificent. I couldn't even explain to you other than the details. Even when I close my eyes, I can see them. And he's always with me. And I believe at the car accident, he came to me. And he's the master healer. And so when I left my body, I could see him to the left. And then I saw an essence of energy, like a movement of a cloud without the smoky transparency, right? And it was to my right. And I'm like now a fourth party. So there's Archangel Michael, the essence of God. I'm going to label it God. It could be higher self source, the energy of all that is, whatever you want to call it. And then me as a little 8-year-old standing in front of this essence of God, I'm going to label. And then now me, Terrie, 6 years ago, as an energy watching it all. And as I'm watching it, I was looking at my little girl self with her head looking up at God. And then I could hear God going wah 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 wah, like Charlie Brown. Have you ever heard the scene Charlie Brown Christmas? And
Yeah.
the teacher behind the desk goes wah wah wah. I could hear that, but I couldn't make up what the words were other than wah wah wah. And I could see my little girl head shaking yes up and down, and then again more the wah 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 and up and down, and then all of a sudden I drifted back into my body where I was laying in that room with the sound healer. And I was in so much pain. And I knew that I relived the car accident. The pain in my jaw, in my head, in my body. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I can move. You might have to call 911. I have so much pain, which was the physical ramifications, the remnants thereof. The body remembers, keeps the score of the car accident. And I literally relived when I died, when I spoke to God, and when I came back, and an Archangel Michael coming back with me. So then that whole profound experience of dying and coming back and having that conversation, even though I don't know what was said, I just know that I was having a conversation. So obviously it was, you're not ready, you have to go back. And then truly understanding the process of life and death, of what you can go through, how you can see things differently, meaning not just with your physical eyes. The feeling of understanding that if someone is angry, it's not you that they're angry at, it's their feeling that's being triggered up in a feeling of anger, and that's how it's coming out for them. And understanding that I don't have to own it, I don't have to fire back, to be triggered into going down the rabbit hole of my own emotions and then hanging on to it for days, weeks, months, which I used to prior to having the spiritual epiphany. But now understanding, because as a medium, being able to speak to non-physical entities, if you want to call them that, non-physical beings, that connection to life living in the physical body and life being in a non-physical energy, and then the feelings of wanting to connect. The physical person can't get over certain things. May it be that death was sudden, or they need some answers or clarity, and they just keep revolving year after year of wanting that connection of, oh, I wish I could have. When then I am the conduit of that which you wish you could have, being able to communicate and send messages. And I can tell you some stories that would blow your mind. One so specific as like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But there's this understanding between the physical and the non-physical, and the healing with it. And that in itself is so transformative, so enlightening, so lifting to be able to heal someone, of being the conduit for that message. it's just all empowering for them as well as myself to be able to be that one. I
Yes, that
think
is
it's real.
profound. I think that
Yeah.
that must be an amazing opportunity, feeling for you. Number one, to be able to understand that you have that power to heal somebody through that energy aspect of it. I believe in that wholeheartedly. I think that Reiki, anything in regard to Reiki, acupuncture. I use acupuncture in my own journey of health. I learned it, and then my wife learned it from an individual that taught her how to put the needles in me to help me when I was going through my rheumatoid arthritis, and still actually, and through my operations and everything else. We have this little funny thing. I never wanted to put tattoos. I'm not a big tattoo guy, but I went in and had 32 little dots put all over my body in the right places, and then she just puts the needle in the dot and connects the dots.
Oh, oh,
So
nice.
yeah, it works out it really well, and I'm grateful that acupuncturist taught Diane how to do that, and it was a benefit to us. And I know that it was the feeling that we got, and it's not the energy in energy healing per se, but we all know that acupuncture is rebalancing the energy and
Hmm.
the chi in the body. So, from an
Yes,
internal aspect, it was a wonderful opportunity. And then my wife always, felt really good about having to be able to take pain away from me. So, you must have like an amazing feeling when you can take this kind of trauma away from people.
absolutely. So, I'm glad you're bringing that physical up, the physical pain, the physical challenges a body can have, and then the energy that we can shift. So when someone has physical pain in their body, the body represents certain things. So I'll give you an example. The shoulders are a perception of burden. Feet represent moving forward. Legs are the support, like legs of a table, right? And so if someone has lower back pain, I say, oh, life is not a pain in the butt, my friends. And so when they pick up or they come to me and they have physical pain, what I do is there's emotional connection to the physical pain. So I shift the emotional connection and the physical pain goes away. And so many profound things have happened over all the years of working with people with physical pain from lower back, shoulders, elbows, and whatever. Sometimes I have to, put a little magic wand energy, shish boom ba in there to,
Magic wands are
shift.
allowed. Magic wands are allowed.
Yes. But, sometimes I need to put a little extra something in there to get something to shift, but it can be in a very profound way. I mean, there's so many, but one, and I've shared this several times, but it's so profound that I cried and he cried, and I can make the short story pretty short, but he was a college football player, started at the age of 8. So worked his way through every year, and he was in the Rose Bowl in college and several of those, you know, um, very professional football games that the college kids go through. And so he was minutes away from getting into the NFL, and then he broke his elbow, and he had 8 surgeries and 3 months of physical therapy. And then that was it. The doctor said, we can't help you anymore. He could only move his arm toward his body about 1/18th, like literally. He couldn't even move his arm up to touch his body. So when he came to me through his mom, who I'd seen his mom, their dad, the brother, all her clients. She sent 50 or 100. She sent me so many clients after working with her. And then in comes him, the youngest son. And he laid on the table and he says, Miss Terrie, I'm handicapped. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Don't own that. Don't own that. And then he proceeded to tell me how nobody could help him and that that's all he had, the movement of his arm. And I said, okay, we're just going to lay here. I'm going to feel out what's going on. So I put both my hands and I cupped his elbow. And I breathe a certain way when I bring the energy through. Now, this is more powerful than just Reiki, but as I said, it's Reiki is the lily pad of stepping into energy work. that I breathe a certain way and I visualize this energy coming through my body. And as I'm exhaling, I'm visualizing it going right where I want it to go. So I knew that I had the elbow to deal with. I put my hands, and within minutes, I felt this slight shimmy, this little shake. And I stood up because I was sitting on the chair, and I stood up and I said, okay, bend your arm. He bent his arm all the way to his chest. He started crying. I started crying. He's like, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, yes, oh my God is right. And I said, the next time you come back, we're going to get your arm to touch the back of touch your back.
Mhm.
And he came back and we got it all the way back. But because he had owned that in that moment when that happened, that football play of that
Mhm.
broke his arm was that, oh my God, my life is over. And then he owned it. And then the doctors told him that he should own it. And then the physical therapist said, that's it, and you should own it. And I said, absolutely not. Not on my watch, not on my table. And I was able to shift it for him. It was
That's
so
amazing.
profound.
Yeah, I mean, brilliant because I can relate and I understand that perspective. I honestly do. After I got injured on in the police department, I got injured on duty, and then I was told before I retired I had to go through a series of doctors to see whether or not I could still be a cop or not be a cop. And you go through four doctors, and then they have a fifth doctor that takes all of their findings, and then he decides whether or not you stay on the job or whether or not you retire. And what the outcome was when I went into my hearing, and this brings tears to my eyes, forgive me.
Mm,
When we went into my hearing, I say we because my wife went in there with me. You have to go through a hearing and you go through a board, and there's all these people around this huge long table, and they're all just really it's judgment day, so to speak. Especially if
mm,
somebody, I was a sergeant, going to be, I want to be lieutenant, want to move up the line, and it it to me, I knew that my health was deteriorating to a point that I was probably going to get you're retired, out of there. So when we walked out of there, it changed my life, profound, and my child, and my children's life, and my wife's life, to a point that immensely. It's all I can say. It changed it immensely. Most everybody that's a part of this community understands the majority of my journey. But I was told by those five doctors that I'd be in a wheelchair and that I would be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, based upon this. So I I understand that mentality because I spent 4 years in one, and with my daughter pushing me around and everything associated with it. My wife had to help me into the bathroom and out of the bathroom and get me dressed and comb my
mm,
hair, and you fall into that, and I don't want to get emotional, but you fall into this pit of despair, so to speak. I went through anger, depression, resentment. I mean, a whole slew of this until, and you can kind of call this energy healing to a point, I guess. My oldest daughter, she was going to get married, I said, "What do you want?
mm,
What do you want for your wedding present?" And Caitlin leaned down in front of me and she says, "I want you to walk me down the aisle."
mm,
So it was at that point that my mind, my body, and soul decided that that's what we were going to do. So from, I would say from her intuition,
mm.
in her ability to communicate with me at a deep level, that she started my journey into getting to a point where I walked her down the aisle, and I haven't looked back since. And I'll
Nice,
walk my youngest when she's ready down the aisle as well. And I walk 2 to 3, 4, 5 miles a day. And I'm not in a
nice.
wheelchair. And it is, it allowed me the opportunity to take her intuition, her energy, her positivity, and
Mm,
take that deep inside my heart and my soul, and then kick the despair out, you know, kicked its butt.
Yes.
So I kind of I understand that story, and I appreciate it from a different level because of that. That you had done that, because I think being able to do that for someone that's going through it, I understand what intense pain is. I had a pain level, and I still do, a pain level that most people couldn't tolerate on a regular basis, and it was daily, and it was consistent, and it was something that I felt that this is the way my life is going to be for the rest of my life because I was told that way. And so thank you for
Mm.
explaining that, and thank you for bringing that to this audience, because I think that you show that there is hope. And I feel that somebody like you, with Caitlin is not an intuitive energy healer, but she's an empath and she is intuitive, and
Mm.
we listen to her. But she felt that it was deep inside me that I could do this, and that helped me build my internal energy in order to heal.
Mm. Yes.
So
So it's I hesitate to use the word hope because sometimes people will sit in a chair going, well, I hope that works out. I hope I have it. Where you had more than just hope. You had the burning desire to be there when your daughter said, I want this. You're like, I want it too. You owned that
yeah.
which she wanted that became equal. And so that created that burning pizza oven, I call, to get you going so that you can create your end result, which you did. So good for you for stepping into that.
Well, it has been a journey, but I'm a better person for it, actually. So I appreciate where you come from in regard to intuitive energy healing, and I think that there's a lot of misconceptions I think people don't understand about it. Can you help us understand maybe some of those misconceptions, and we could put them, maybe inspire them and educate them a little bit?
Yeah, thank you so much. I meet a lot of people out and about and introduced to many people. And when I tell them I'm an intuitive energy healer, and as soon as I hear what is that, I'm like, uh-oh, here we go. But to be open to receive things that you may not be familiar with, meaning don't start with judgment, start with openness. Okay. And so when it comes to the intuitive part, meaning I have to trust my physical body, meaning what I feel. So I am clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsentient, which means that I can I can see movies in my head. I can hear conversations. And the clairsentient is that just knowing. I have to trust all of that 100% as I work with people. And that's the intuitive part. As you were sharing, your daughter is intuitive, and that's her feeling. That's her saying, I know you can do this. I can feel it. She's trusting it without a doubt. And that's what I do that makes me as good as I am. And so then as I'm connecting, the energy healing part is that feeling all the clairs. I'm supersized into those three, but there are a total of six. But we'll focus on those three for right now for this show. And so as I supersize into that, then what I have to do is over all the years of 19 years of practice, the being able to see the flashes or see a movie in my head, I have to describe. And since I have so many years behind me, most of the time I see the same thing. And so every once in a while I'll see something new. And it doesn't mean that I see you and mom in a fight. I'll see two fish swimming in the sea. One jumps out of the water and then comes back in the water and swims away. That tells me someone left the family unit. And it is similar to like that. It's just what, how the universe, source, God energy shows me what's going on within your blueprint of your energy field, meaning that record player that's in you, those grooves are grooved into you from your memory. And so my intuition connects to your memory stick. And that's why I see movies of it. So I'll share what limiting belief or what interaction you had as a child. Then I bring it to your present state, and then I say, okay, this is why you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, because this is what I'm seeing as a child. and this is what the end result will look like. And then I can shift it. So I work remotely. I have clients all over the world. There is no time and space with energy. So what I'm saying with people that I see face to face, I can do that remotely. But when I'm face to face, that's where the hands on comes on. Like the switch, hands on comes on. And then I'll interact with them with the hands on. But remotely, I'll do the same thing. I'll close my eyes or I'll look up. So, and then I'm sort of honing in inside my mind. And then I'll see the movie and then I'll share the movie. And so, um, you do not have to have emotionally or physically abusive parents in order to have hundreds of thousands of limiting beliefs. It can be something as simple as mom forgetting to come back to you when you said, I want to draw you a picture. And then the child will say, I have to do better to be seen and to be heard. And so they'll start doing extra things. But as an adult, it'll show as you working really hard at work, you get all your work done, you help your coworkers, you go home and say, why am I working so hard and nobody's working as hard as me? It's very much the same. I see that a lot. And so that's where we have to shift, that you don't have to appear to say to yourself that I'm working so hard in order to get what you want. It was just what you owned.
How do you feel about intergenerational trauma that is brought forward?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And actually I love that you're bringing that up because I do share that often, is that I'm a byproduct of that myself, and it's about money. So my grandfather was in World War II. And if they ever wanted to buy anything, it was with cash. They didn't have credit cards. So what they did was they showed my dad and my mom, again, young kids, that if you wanted something, you had to save very hard and then save the money in the bank to be able to buy it. So there's a really quick, funny story, and I'll share it really quick. So I have a sister who's younger than me and a brother who's older. So my sister and I are closer. And so by the time we hit 30, we would save, save, save. Maybe wanted to buy a new washing machine. But then by the time I got close to buying that washing machine, I'd get a flat tire. I had to replace the flat tire. Car would break down, so I'd spend all the money on the car, and I still didn't get the washing machine. So I'd have to buy something used. By the time here we're in our early 40s, everything I own is used. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of living like this. I finally broke down and I said, I'm going to buy a new car. I'm buying a new car. This is the way it's going to be, and I'll make it work. And so after I made that decision, then money started coming in. I started getting
Really?
raises. I started getting promotions. I started having money in the bank, and I have a new car. Then I would buy something else, and then I would move up. To this day, she's still struggling, and I'm not.
Yeah, that's a brilliant story. You can ask my wife. She's in the other room. She'll tell you that she's constantly telling me that I need to change my energy that way. She's constantly telling me that because I say, "Oh, we're getting this close on our bills. We're getting this close on our bills. We only got this much left." And she said, "You can't talk that way." So
No.
you'd be proud of her. So yeah, I can't wait to show her this
Oh,
part.
oh, good. Oh,
Yeah,
good. Yay.
yeah. She'll go, "See, I told you so."
You see, this was exactly for you today.
Well, exactly. Well, and I grew up in a family that, same thing. I grew up with two. My
Yeah.
parents were very dysfunctional. My father died when I was very young, and
Mhm.
I was 17. He was only 39 years old. I hadn't seen him since I was 15, due to the family issues and so forth. So my mother essentially was a single mother, and a single mother growing up in the 70s, as you know, was very difficult. You during that time period, you couldn't even have a credit card or bank account. You had to get permission to do certain things, which is like unbelievable to me that that would have to happen. Which as a kid, you don't know this kind of stuff. You don't find this out
Mhm.
until later, and then you find out
Mhm.
later. Oh, well, that's what happened to my mom. That's why she couldn't do this or do that, do this. So the saving aspect, it still sticks with me. I do this now. I get birthday money, I put in an envelope. I get Christmas money, I put in an envelope, and I'm saving up for something I want to buy. And the same
Mm.
thing happens. We need a new battery. We need
Mhm.
a new tire. We need, knock on wood to the universe, I'm not telling you we need this now.
Delete, delete, delete.
Delete, delete, delete. But but so yeah, but that's a great story because what you've shown is that manifestation in the right, perspective works the way it's supposed to work. So
Right,
thank you for sharing that story.
right. You're welcome, but somebody has to step in to make sure that it stops. And most of the time, they'll just say, well, that's what I know. That's what I've seen. This is what my parents showed me. I have to continue to struggle, delete, delete. And you do not. You're not going to live outside of your means. You're just going to know that you can attract
Yeah,
everything that's supporting you besides what you with your eyes and your ears. It's the trusting of all that is, that you are protected, that you are the magnificent manifester and you can create it.
that you need to be. And do you believe in guardian angels?
Yes.
Yes, I believe I talk to my angels every day. I do believe that I have a connection to my Archangel Michael.
Yes.
Number one, because of my job, and two, because every time I've called upon
Yes.
him, he's always been there for me in different situations. Actually, we've had, we'll say, conversations with several archangels in regard to many things, and I believe that they're here to help us and they're here to support us when we need it, and to give us the love and the compassion and the humanity that we're looking for, as well as a little nudge in the right direction, when we need it.
Hmm.
How let me ask you this, okay? I got so many things running through my head right now. If you could read my mind, it would be a lot easier to answer all this.
I'm still working on that.
So okay, earlier you had mentioned that you're clairvoyant, you're medium, but in
Yes.
three different facets.
Mhm.
How did you first come about understanding that you were medium and that you had the
Mm.
abilities and can I say gifts or
Gifts. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, yes. So everyone has them. You're bringing up your daughter and said she's intuitive. That's a gift, right?
but
Trusting it beyond. That's how part of it. But, you know, I as a child, I became a master manifester after I had died and then came back. And then when I saw, so there was a little situation that happened where my grandfather passed away suddenly. My sister and my grandfather were super tight. And every weekend he would come to her house on a Thursday through a Monday. My grandmother had already transitioned, so he was a loner now. And so she had a small 2-year old, and he became, and she was a single mom, so he became the step-in dad, and he was loving it. So one day she called me, and I remember exactly where I was and what was happening when she called me. And she said, Grandpa's going in the hospital. He's going to call me. I just wanted to let you know he's having some stomach pains. So later on, I had my hand on the door of the Omni Shoreham Hotel in DC. I worked as a director of sales for a sightseeing company. My hand was on the door, pulling it open when my phone rang and I answered it. And all I could hear is my sister screaming. I could not make out what she was saying. She was like hysterically screaming. I'm like, okay. So I stepped down. I said, well, hold on, calm down, calm down. She was screaming, he's dead. He's dead. I said, what? So my grandfather had a heart murmur, and when I was little, I would lay my head on his chest and I could hear it. That's how loud it was. And I always told him, "You love me so much, your heart is skipping a beat." We had this thing going between the two of us, and he died of a massive heart attack on the MRI table. And so when my sister experienced that, she did not want to live up to 5 years because she was so close to him. So 5 years of his anniversary of his death, she's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. So I'm like, no, 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 no. I gotta make something happen. So I had met this woman who, at the time, remember, I was all corporate. So I didn't know what she was doing, but I know she could talk to things. And so I hooked up a three-way call, and she had a conversation about my uncle first before she talked about my dad. This woman didn't know me. All she knew was my first name. She talked about my life and my sister's life when we were little. I'm like, how are you getting this information? So she shared that my uncle had come in stronger at the time, that energy during that three-way call. Then afterwards, she says, okay. Now I'm going to bring your grandfather in. And she started telling my sister about him and that he saw the light, missed my grandmother so much. He's with her now. He's not in any pain, wasn't any pain in the transition. It was everything she needed to turn from living in lack, meaning the lack of what she didn't have anymore, to living in celebration of what she had with him while he was here. It totally changed her life. And I'm like, I want to save people's lives like that. And so that helped shift me into being a medium and then going in that direction. But I wanted to do it so profoundly that I started seeking training and all that. And there wasn't really anything out there other than people in the UK. That's how long ago this was. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to figure this out. And it took me a full circle. I learned how to meditate, number one. I had to do a lot of self teaching because there wasn't anything out there to teach you how to meditate. And I took a video, excuse me, an audio course through the Silva Mind method on meditation. And then I went into intuitive development with a year course. And then my focus was I wanted to be a medium, wanted to be a medium, but I ended up being the intuitive energy work first. And then a year later, it just happened and came to me. But everyone has the ability to do this. I actually teach intuitive development, and I've taught people to become a medium. I've taught people how to shift energy. I've taught people how to read energy from other people. I had this woman who her company was going out of business. She was struggling so much. And I said, hold on, you don't have to do that. I can teach you how to read when you're interviewing people. And if their ear chakras are open, they're ready, willing, and able to hear you and what your business profile is and to support you. But if their ear chakras are closed, they don't want to hear you. And so she was able to do that and in the end she saved her business, got her first $1 million client in less than in less than 8 months. And she had the strongest team that they were all working together because I taught her how to to scan people, to read their chakras, to understand them on a deeper level. So you don't have to turn into someone like me. You can utilize all of the energies and understanding it to be able to help people or to, like for her, to hire the right team that supported her end result so that she could help them as they're helping her as well. So I was able to supersize into all of the mediumship work, the psychic work. I spent 5 years on a psychic website because created lots of friends and they were all working together and had a really strong following. But then I realized I can't take people off that platform. I had to keep them there. And I realized all these people in my backyard. So I kind of left that platform. But all those 5 years of doing, psychic work, you had to hit it fast. You had to be consistent and spot on. And then that's how I became really successful of where I am today. So it's a combination of a lot of things.
Well, it is. I think that again, the universe puts us on the journey that we're supposed to be on, and sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it takes a little nudge, to get us there. But once we're there, it allows us to be able to work the way we're supposed to work.
Yes.
I
Yes,
think.
yes, yes.
It's ironic because one more thing before you go. Actually, I started one more thing before you go for the purpose of basically, with the people in my own life that have disappeared that and passed away, that I did not have the opportunity to say what I wanted to say before losing them. And then as a cop, watching that, in many instances, being the last person there and or knocking on somebody's door, having to deliver a message, and it's always been, I wish I would have said, I wish I could have said, this kind
Right.
of a thing. And that's where one more thing before you go was actually born.
Mm.
Or I won't say born. That makes it a living entity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but that's how it was created in the first place. It was to give people, individuals, to know that there's always one more thing that you can do, you can say, you can be. And one more thing, you
Mm.
have the ability to be able to get closure when you want to get closure, especially after losing someone. So I love
Right.
that story because it allowed, your sister and you to a point, I'm guessing as well, to be able to get
Right.
closure the way you needed to get closure, because we always wonder what happens. My father died. I, I, I'm from Colorado. I live in Arizona now, but I'm from Colorado. So he was in Pittsburgh. I don't know how many miles in between that is, but it's a bunch of miles, right? So
Hmm.
when you don't have the ability to understand when somebody passed away. You don't have the ability to understand what they went through, the fact that they were not there with anybody or anything along that line. I think it's valuable to the soul to be able to get that kind of a closure, because it gives you something that you can at least feel um, comfortable with the fact that they are in a better place.
Hmm.
So
Absolutely. That's where I feel like she got the healing. That he's not suffering,
yeah,
that he's with our grandmother, and that she, again, turning her loss, yeah, I call it lost in loss,
yeah,
into celebrating what she had with him.
which is a positive. And I think we all should look for positive.
Absolutely.
We as individuals, we as human beings, we as a society, I think, are not grateful enough for sometimes what we have in our lives, and the subtle things that show up that we should be thankful for and grateful for. And some of those are because life can change in an instant. So every moment should count. Every opportunity should count.
Right.
And every time that we want to ensure that we are not only in the right place, but our loved ones are, or those that we care about, are in a good place or in the right place, we should grasp it.
Absolutely. That's beautiful.
So do you think that was the most transformative experience you've had with um, with regard to this whole aspect of intuitive healing and mediumship?
So I believe it was one of the catalysts besides, laying on that bathroom floor. It
Yeah,
did start because
yeah,
the mediumship part was before I had that spiritual epiphany. But because I was still in the relationship with the father of my children, I had to kind of pivot and put that on the back burner because I had to deal with what am I going to do with him? And then I was asking God, please show me, give me the strength to get to the next day. And so there were literally two, that moment as a medium, working with my granddad and my sister,
right.
and then that spiritual epiphany. They were equally the same. Yeah.
Well, and obviously, I think any one of them is a good thing to have happened, because obviously it puts you on a path to helping not only yourself but other individuals. And the advantage,
Absolutely.
yeah, the advantage I think that you had is that you were able to help yourself first. And that sounds
Absolutely.
a little selfish in that regard when I say
No,
that, but you
self-love.
you can't help, yeah, you can't help others till you help yourself.
Right.
Sometimes it's
Right.
difficult for us that do help individuals. Even me as a cop, I got in to help people. And sometimes I had to remember that I have to help myself before I can help somebody else in a lot of
Right.
situations. So
Right.
yeah, yeah,
But
that's
I was
good.
spending so much time trying to show my partner how much safety in love is, and giving, 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 giving,
Yeah,
that I gave away so much of me and there was nothing left.
yeah. When you got involved in this journey, had you ever thought about writing a book before? Is that just something that came to you?
It came to me while I was in the middle of, I wrote it in 2018. It's still very profound. I still so many of them still to this day. I call it the tool for success because there are simple yet profound techniques in my book. But when I was moving forward, because of my corporate director sales background, I'm like, okay, what's next? What can I learn to use that as a tool to, catapult me to something
Right.
else within my spiritual practice? So I took some courses on speaking from stages, speaking with media, creating media interactions. That's why I was on, TV and all the podcasts and telesummits I was on. And so I thought, okay, when I got to a certain point, it was about you got to write a book. They were calling it like a calling, a business card became a, well, your book became a business card back then.
Right.
So I said, okay, so I, took a course, but I'm all in when I do something. So I hired a content editor from Simon and Schuster. I hired a digital content creator, for the outside of the book. But that's a funny story because they kept throwing these pictures of flowers and butterflies, and I'm like, that's not what my book is about, friends. and uh, and then I finally chose two, and I said it's going to be one or the other, and this is what's going to be, and we're going to kind of spew it up or spuse it up a little bit, and that's why my cover is the way it is. But when I
Right.
look at it, it's exactly what I'm trying to create in the book, saying that everything you need is within you. Everything. So I walk around and say this mantra: I have everything I need and more, because I do. Everything that I create is inside of me. Everything that you need really truly is in you. You create it, you manifest it, you think it, you feel it, you know it, you believe it. And so once you start with all of that, you can really supersize yourself out of situations that you say are uncomfortable. You can supersize into another job that's more loving and supportive to you. You can supersize into creating a partner that's equal to what it is you're saying that your heart is calling for.
I think that, yeah, what a brilliant way to, what a mantra. That's, I mean, that's all I can.
Yes.
That's a great mantra because we say that
Say it.
mantra enough, and it
Yes.
ingrained within ourselves. We train our mind, our body, and our soul to kind of take that into consideration.
Yes. Own it. You can have that too.
Own it. That works. Own it's a good word. How do you see the
Absolutely.
future of intuitive energy and healing integrating into like a wellness program? I just had a conversation with a naturopathic doctor here a
Mm,
little while
mhm,
ago, and you know, I saw her, or not saw her. I see, and I had learned about naturopathic medicine and naturopathic doctor.
mhm,
Um, what is it? Wow, time has flown by. 10,
mhm,
11, 12, oh, 15 years ago. Wow. Probably 15 years ago, I had started understanding what a naturopathic doctor was, because they
mhm,
have an institute here in Arizona that trains naturopathic doctors, one of I think 8 or something across
mhm,
the country.
mhm,
Anyway, we were talking about intuitive energy. She was just getting involved in that. She had just
mhm.
begun an introduction into that. So that was a long way around a short question. I'm sorry.
No, no. It's. I love that you asked me that question because first off, I'm currently working with a homeopathic doctor. We're healing my thyroid. I'm halfway there, and your body can heal. So throat is about communication, and I struggled with communicating in my relationship. I couldn't communicate with my dad because he was the one who said it, and you need to do
Right.
it. So, that's where I'm healing all of my throat issues about communicating and then healing the thyroid. And yes, your body can heal. So don't ever let anyone tell you you can't. And so I worked, well, currently, I've worked with and currently do with clinical social workers, therapists, because, when you talk therapy, and I support that, uh, is getting your client to talk about what's troubling them. And then based on their history and what they've learned, they'll bring it back to why you struggle. Where I go deeper, I tell you about you without you telling me.
Right.
Then I bring it to your present. And then I tell you why. Then what happens is my client, if they are seeing a clinical social worker or a therapist, they'll take what I say to them, which will help the therapist and say, now I understand for the past 10 years that I've been working with you. And then boom, 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 magic happens. But magic happens on my table too. So again, we merge together. I've had people come to me where the doctor couldn't figure it out. And
Right.
I've had this guy who had a simple surgery on an elbow and he came out with short-term memory loss. He goes, what happened? And then I started putting my hands on him and I said, there is something going on. You have a fungus in your blood. What is going on? And I said, something's going on with your foot. And he had socks on at the time. I said, what's going on with your foot? He says, I have a severe fungus, toe fungus underneath the big toe. And he showed it to me. Oh, it was bad. And I said, when they worked on you, however it worked, it flushed it through your blood. This is what's going on, and this is why you ended up with some major
Wow.
issues. And yeah, so then it
That
was just about cleaning out his blood.
that's crazy. You did it through naturopathic, or he went to a
Uh,
naturopathic. How did
he
that?
was actually, yeah, he ended up, he was so separate. Let's put that on pause. He was working with a regular doctor for a surgery on an elbow. When he came out of the surgery, he ended up with short-term memory loss, and nobody could understand what
Nobody can understand
happened.
how it could happen.
And then I
Uh,
I came in where he came to me to do an energy session, not based on that, but his wife had heard about me and she says, I believe you can help my husband.
that
We don't know what's going on. So I picked it up where
you
it
saw
stemmed
that.
from. And then I said, go back to get, there was some kind of where you can run your blood through a machine. I forget, I can't remember what it's called. So I apologize for that
That's all
because
right.
I read about it a long time ago where your blood can, you can sit next to this machine. The blood can be cleaned through this machine. And I told her, I said, you need to look into that because I believe that was going to help him a
Mhm.
lot. And then I didn't, there was no follow up. He went off to figure out what they were going to do. So I work with,
But you felt
I,
it.
yep, I felt it. I told this woman came to me and I said, you have some big ball of something right near your ovary or right in that area. She went to the gynecologist. It was the size of a grapefruit. She had some kind of tumor.
That's
So I can
crazy.
pick up things. Yeah. I had this other woman. She said, I've got severe ringing in my ears. It's getting worse now. I'm getting aches and pains. And I said, you've got some kind of mold. I said, check mold in the house. Check this, check that. They had the whole house remediated. Yes, from mold. It had mold in the attic and in the
Wow.
walls. And then I said, there's something else. She goes, I feel like I'm getting something back again. She had mold in the straw of her cup that she was always using for
No
water.
kidding. That's
And then
crazy
she had,
cool.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
So
crazy
it's
cool
things that I can pick up that I can push them back to, the doctor or whoever and say, this is what I'm picking up.
is
So
what you
tell
need to look
them.
at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I said earlier, a gift, and I was questioning whether I should ask if it's a gift, but to me that's a gift to be able to
Yes,
accomplish that because you're changing people's lives for the better in that regard. So
absolutely.
I
That's what
appreciate
I'm
that.
here for. Yes, yes. To
You know,
lift,
it
empower.
Terry, I could talk to you for another hour, but this hour went by really fast.
It did. It always does. I have so many stories.
Well, you will have to revisit a conversation and have you back on because I think that you have so much more that we can share with other individuals and in your journey and how you provide. But yeah, this
Yes.
has been great. I really appreciate you coming here. I would like to tell everybody how to get a hold of you and what you have to offer, how to get your book, how to get you have
Yes.
classes, you've got like a
Yes.
bazillion things that people can get
I
involved with.
do. I offer so many tools for success to help you. So, my book, The Secret Power of You, can be found on Amazon. Also, my website, terriechristine.com. I offer a free 15-minute guided meditation. So, please jump on over there, grab that for yourself. It's free. I have a mag stream. It's a 5 phase visualization technique to take you where you are to where you want to be. I offer what's called Power Stream, and it's on the first of every month. It's a live online group energy clearing, and we do that again, as I said, the first of every month, 7 p.m. Eastern. And so in December, it's coming up, December 1st. So please go to my website, click there, and join us. It's only $33, so please come. It's a group of like-minded people that can help you. And I also, as I said and mentioned, I do remote work, so I offer a 30-minute deep dive call that you can find on the website, and then, face to face or remote, whatever works for you for a 30-minute session. You can find me on Love and Marriage DC, season 1 and season 2, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I'm pretty much actively engaged in putting things out on social media. And I'm fully honored and grateful, Michael, to have this opportunity to share and to be with you. And I welcome another opportunity as well. So thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being here. I thank you for sharing everything. This is one more thing before you go, though. So I always ask one last question.
Sure.
And really, it's the only one that I have written out. I told you I don't write out questions, but this one is.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
because it's one more thing before you go, do you have any words of wisdom for anybody wanting to begin their journey towards intuitive inner healing and greatness?
Yes, yes. Number one, trust. You have to trust inside of you. You have the yes, you have the no, but you also have maybe. And maybe is the space that gives you enough strength or enough wisdom or enough clarity to move into the yes or no. But that maybe should only last a couple minutes, a couple days, at the most, a couple hours, but no more than 2 days to move into a yes or no clarity. But never discount what you're feeling. Trust and know it's all within you.
Brilliant words of wisdom. Brilliant words
Thank
of
you.
wisdom. Terrie, thank you very much again, honestly, for being here, sharing your wisdom, your journey, and everything else associated with improving people's lives in the right way. I will appreciate it. I will reach out. We'll have you back on the show so we can continue this conversation.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank
And
you.
I'll make sure that everything is in the show notes so that people have an easy way just to click and find you. So that should help
Yes.
as well. And everyone, one thing before you all go in this community, thank you very much for being part of One More Thing Before You Go community. Be sure to like, subscribe, and to share. And one more thing before you all go, have a great day, have a great week, and thank you for being here.
Yes. Ta-ta for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Thing Before You Go. Check out our website at beforeyougopodcast.com. You can find us as well as subscribe to the program and rate us on your favorite podcast listening platform.